All right, so this is gonna be a little bit different of a video. I want to go ahead and explain why I quit my job that I've had for over 15 years. It's probably one of the toughest decisions I've ever had to make, and I wanna share that with you. All right, so I've contemplated how I was gonna make this video, how I was going to explain this. I try to be as transparent as I possibly can. The decision to go ahead and quit my job was something that was agonizing me over the past year. Over the past year, I've really had to weigh out the pros and cons in doing this, and there was a lot that really led up to me making this decision. But to tell you why I did that, I have to take you back so you understand what I went through with this job to even secure it in the first place. So I've been with this company for over 15 years. When I first started, I started with a company called Midas. You're probably pretty familiar with that. That was a big automotive chain that repaired vehicles aftermarket. And I ran stores and I worked on vehicles. I was a technician and a store manager. And one day, this rep from the software company we owned at the time called R came into the building. Now, Midas was recently acquired by a company called TBC at the time. And they came in and they said, hey, we want to learn about the software. Can you show us? They happened to be at my store. I showed them how to use the software. And after the week was over with this rep, she said, you would be perfect to come down and do an interview with us in Palm Beach. That was where our office was. It was actually off of PGA Boulevard. So I decided to take the opportunity to go down and pursue this. They just sold the company to this company that didn't have any intention of keeping the company-owned stores. And I didn't want to work for a franchise at the time, so I figured best interest was to take this job with R. Went down, did the job interview, everything was great. They offered me the job, and I accepted that job. But there was one contingency of me accepting this job that I didn't really quite have figured out. It required me to move to Palm Beach. And I just couldn't do it. We just had a brand new baby, my youngest daughter at the time, and I just couldn't do it. It was now 2012, summer of 2012, or I'm sorry, summer of 2012. And I just wasn't able to make that move, but I accepted the job. And I decided that I was just going to sleep in my car and shower at the beaches. Our office was close enough to the beaches. For about 3.5 to 4 weeks, I slept in my car every day after work and I showered at the beach. And it really wasn't that bad. It sounds like it's terrible, but it wasn't that bad. The public beaches there are amazing. And I did that for about 4 weeks. Finally, I found a room on Craigslist. It was in a foreclosed house. The guy was renting it out. I was basically squatting at the time. I didn't really realize that's what it was, but I was squatting, paying this guy $100 a week to have a room in this house. It sucked because I would have to take my clothes and all my belongings with me every day because you never know when the bank would come and put a lock on the door. So I did that for about 7 months. And finally, the bank did come and put a lock on the door. So I moved down to Boca Raton where my cousins were staying. And that was a hell of a long drive. I did that all the way until January 2014 when I finally approached my boss and just told her, I'm gonna have to go back to being a mechanic. I can't continue doing this. It's killing me mentally. Because what I was doing was staying down there during the week, drive down Monday morning, drive back Friday night, and rinse and repeat. I cherished the holidays. Every time there was a holiday, I was like, this is amazing. It felt normal that I can be with my wife and kids during the weekend, and it was an extended weekend. It was amazing. I burned more vacation time during that time than I probably ever have in my entire career, but it was amazing. I went into her office January 2014 and she granted me the right to work from home. She said she's never done this before, but she would try it out with me. And I worked harder working from home than I ever worked working in the office because I had something to prove and show that my worth was valuable at the company. So I did just that. I worked from home and I did that all the way up until this year. I worked from home. Now in February, my grandfather passed away. The following week, they sold our company. We got an email that we had this meeting. We couldn't pass the email on to anybody. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this seems really weird. Why would they do this? Why can't we tell anybody about this meeting? And I started putting two and two together that they sold the company or we were getting fired. So for about 2 days, I thought we were getting fired until the new company that purchased us brought us all back on. And for a while, it was pretty good. It was smooth sailing because not a lot really changed from the old company to the new company. And I thought, I'll just stick it out. It's fine. Even if I can get another year out of this, I'll make it work. Now, all the while, I've been actually living off of the money I've been making on the side. So I have side businesses plus YouTube, and I've been making money on the side that I have used to see if I could sustainably survive off of that. So that's what I've been doing, testing the waters, having a safeguard in my day job to pick it up if I couldn't. And for the past 6 months, we honestly have. We've paid all of our bills with that side money. And I'll be completely honest, I've had trolls try to talk about my credit card bills. We don't have credit cards. I have 3 credit cards. I really don't ever put anything on a credit card. If I can pay for it cash, I'll pay for something cash. So I don't know where that comes from. I work pretty hard. I've been working ever since I was 15 years old, and that work ethic has never stopped. So fuck you if you are one of those people that were trolling me about that. You don't know my finances, so fuck off. But anyways, I've stuck it out for a while, and recently things have just gotten really squirrely at the office where they wanted us to work late and take on all these tasks that we weren't assigned to really be doing because they raised all the prices of our customers, and guess what? People started leaving. But then they made concessions for certain customers. It was a big shit show, and there was a lot of stress, and I had people calling me, complaining. And you know what? It just mentally broke me hearing longtime customers complain about things that were happening that we had no control over. And I decided one day, it was August 18th, I was sitting here working, it was 10 o'clock at night, and I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I sent an email to my boss. I initially put my 2 weeks in, but I said, you know what? I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back tomorrow, and I'm not coming back ever. And I quit my job just like that. And maybe it's not the right way to quit, but I figured my tenure lied with the company that that sold us. So I figured worst case scenario, I could put a job reference in with that company. But my plan going forward is to do YouTube more full time, but that's not going to be where my money comes from. My plan is to make my business, Apex Imaging, more of my primary source of income. Past couple of years, I've made a really solid amount of money doing photography on the side. And more recently, I've had to tell customers no because I just didn't have time to take on those new customers. But now that I don't have to tell anybody no, it's giving me a new window to make more money. I've ran the numbers. I've really played out every different scenario in making this decision, and I've agonized over this for weeks, playing out every single calculation, understanding my bills, understanding the minimums that I need to make per month to make this feasible. A couple of things I gotta take into account for. My wife works, so what about insurance? Well, I'm gonna jump on her insurance, which makes this a lot less harder of a transition. But what about steady income? Well, I have Apex, which produces a pretty good amount of money per month, more than enough to sustain my bills. And I had money saved before this. The goal is you want to have at least 2 times whatever your salary was prior to going full-time with whatever entrepreneurship you decide to go with. So I made sure I have 2 times my salary to be able to make sure I could withstand any sort of hardships that get thrown my way. Those were things I had to have in place. I picked probably the worst time to do this since my wife's pregnant and we're gonna be having a 3rd child, but I figured there's no better time than now. I have no more reason to not hustle. Right now it's survival mode, and you're going to be doing things that you normally wouldn't do. You're selling yourself essentially, whether it be through YouTube or the products that you offer in whatever business that you're creating, you're selling yourself. And it took me a long time to believe that I could do it. And sometimes the easiest way to do that is just step off that ledge and see what you hit. I listened to a lot of motivational speakers before doing this, and one of the most motivational things I heard was something from Denzel Washington, and he said, don't have anything to fall back on. If you're gonna fall forward. At least you know what you will hit. And that really resonated with me, and that was boom, all I needed to hear to just know that I could do this. So it's gonna be Apex, YouTube, and then of course I have my Etsy store, which does incredibly well, and I can't thank you all enough for all the support, purchasing all those 3D prints. Total so far today on Etsy, total sales since March, just since March, $25,800 on just Etsy. That's pretty damn good. That doesn't account for YouTube, and that doesn't account for doing the photography. So I'm pretty sure I think I'm gonna be just fine. And the fact that my wife works and runs a company, I think we're gonna be A-okay. But I think it's important, if you are going to do this, make sure you plan, understand what your minimums that you need are, so when you're going forward, you can survive. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. And every time there's a troll that tells me I can't do something, it just fuels me to make sure that I can do something. I'm gonna make it. One way or the other, I'm always going to get my nut. I'm like a fucking squirrel. And there's just only one way to survive. So I just wanted to fill you guys in on that, because I know a lot of you asked me what my plans would be, and that's honestly my plans. I'm sorry this video was long and drag out, but I wanted you to understand like everything. Like, I've worked hard. I've worked really, really hard for what I've had. And I'm taking a huge risk, but I know this risk is going to pay off because it's something that I can control every aspect of. Before, working for a company, I couldn't. All right, that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed, I really would appreciate you hitting the subscribe button, and leave me some stories of your successes if you've stepped out on your own away from a corporation. It's a very nervous time for me. It's nerve-wracking, but we're gonna get there, and it's gonna be better. I'm gonna be better mentally, so thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Stay original. Blessings on blessings for me. My successes only made them envious. They got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I had to put all their egos in check. You're not entitled to anything else. I get 10 years of this under my belt. Your art isn't art, they don't feel it, and nobody hears it. Initiatives stay on the shelf.